Marco Rubio got his natural ass kicked during the Republican debate of Saturday night. And Chris Christie was all over him, as were quite a few other people. So anyway, I'm going to play the clip from This Week with George Stephanopoulos that basically shows the number of times that he used part of his canned speech against President Obama and how he tries to defend himself.
And let's dispel once and for all with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. We are not facing a president that doesn't know what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. Let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Anyone who believes that Barack Obama isn't doing what he's doing on purpose doesn't understand what we're dealing with here.
Democrats already circulating that video from last night. Senator Marco Rubio joins us live right now. What went wrong?
Well, actually, I would pay them to keep running that clip because that's what I believe passionately. It's one of the reasons why I'm not running for re-election to the Senate and I'm running for president. This notion and this idea that somehow, oh, this is an accident. Obamacare was not an accident. Dodd-Frank was not an accident. The deal with Iran was not an accident.
But you're getting pounded for repeating that speech.
Well, look, we raised more money last night in the first hour of that debate than any other debate. As far as that message, I hope they keep running it, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's true. Barack Obama, yes, has he hired incompetent people to implement laws and run agencies? Absolutely. But when it comes to what he's trying to do to America, it's part of a plan.
But even...
And I hope they keep running it too, because this guy, he is all smoke and mirrors. That's all he knows how to do is basically recite from a canned speech. This guy has no accomplishments to speak of, really no accomplishments, period. And he's basically being handled. And all he knows how to do is what his handlers are telling him to do, which is repeat that same 25-second canned speech.
He has said he wanted to change the country. He's doing it in a way that is robbing us of everything that makes us special. I'm going to keep saying that because that not only is it the truth, it is at the core of our campaign.
But even after Chris Christie called you out for what he called canned speeches, 25-second canned speeches, you repeat it again. He says, there you go. Again, that was not a good moment for you, was it?
It's what I believe, and it's what I'm going to continue to say because it happens to be one of the main reasons why I am running. This is the greatest country in the history of mankind because of a certain set of principles. Barack Obama wants us to abandon those principles, and he has spent 7 years putting in place policies that rip them from us, undermining the Constitution, undermining free enterprise, undermining our standing in the world, weakening America, apologizing for us on the global stage. The reason why I'm running is if we elect someone like that for the next 4 years, I think it may be too late for America to turn around.
Lindsey Graham, supporting Jeb Bush now, said the case for Marco Rubio is ready to be commander-in-chief took a hit tonight.
Well, Lindsey Graham supporting Jeb Bush. I don't expect that he's going to say positive things about me. Here's the truth. Of everybody on that stage, no one on that stage last night has more experience or a better understanding of the national security issues before this country than I do. And that is the most important thing the president does. The president doesn't run the economy, but the president does have to be commander-in-chief. No one
even though you've never been in an executive position.
No one on that stage has a better understanding or has shown better judgment on foreign policy than I have, period. And I think I demonstrated that last night. I've demonstrated that throughout the campaign.
Now, speaking of national security and foreign policy, you just heard Donald Trump back here on the issue of waterboarding and torture, said he would authorize something even worse, that sometimes we do have to mirror our enemies. What did you make of that?
Well, I don't even know what that means, obviously, so I can't make much of it. I can tell you two things, and I said it last night. The first is we shouldn't really be discussing specific tactics because it allows a terrorist literally to plan for how they'll be interrogated to avoid this.
But you would reserve the right to order waterboarding.
Well, we are going to interrogate terrorists. We're not even doing that now because there's no one being sent to Guantanamo. But beyond it, I would tell you that we have to understand you cannot interrogate a terrorist as if it was a law enforcement investigation. A law enforcement investigation is about collecting evidence for prosecution. A terrorism interrogation is about finding out information to prevent something from happening.
Has this guy ever heard of the Geneva Conference? I mean, Jesus Christ, this guy basically, he is advocating torturing people. And I thought the United States was better than that, but apparently he doesn't believe that we need to follow the rules. You know, just like Trump doesn't believe we need to follow the rules, but this asshole doesn't believe we need to follow the rules either. So basically, if they do it, we can do it. So if they break the law, we should be able to break the law too. That's bullshit. But anyway, go ahead.
Prevent an attack or to target others who are involved in actively plotting. So you'll have to use different tactics. We're not going to discuss those tactics. Let me suffice it to say that we are going to comply with whatever a civilized nation would do, but you have to treat terrorists differently than you do a street criminal.
You also got called out by Jeb Bush and Chris Christie on the issue of abortion because you don't support exceptions for rape and incest. And Jeb Bush also said this to CNN. I want to put that up. He said, it's a tough sell to tell a pro-life mother that her daughter has been raped, that she would just have to accept that as a sad fact. This is not an easy decision, but Marco will have to explain that position. What would you say to
Well, a couple of things. Number one, abortion to me is not a political issue. It's a human rights issue. And so if Jeb wants to make it a political issue, that's his right. For me, it's not. Number two, I have supported laws that have exception. The 20-week abortion ban, if it's
But
passed.
that's not what you believe.
Well, first of all, I do require an exception for life of the mother because I'm pro-life. Number two, as I've said, if they pass a law in Congress that has exceptions, I'll sign it because I want to save lives. The broader point I've made, however, is I believe all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws. That's what I deeply and personally believe. And I'm not going to change my position on something that is so deep in me in order to win an election.
So what do you say to that mom? The look her in the eye.
It's
What
a
do you
terrible
tell her?
situation. I mean, a crisis pregnancy, especially as a result of something as horrifying as that, I'm not telling you it's easy. I'm not here saying it's an easy choice. It is a horrifying thing what you've just described. It's heartbreaking. It is unimaginable, quite frankly.
And also, it's none of your business. That's a decision that the woman, her doctor, and if married or partnered with somebody, that partner need to come up with. And politicians need to keep their noses out of other people's business. The Republicans are always so good at trying to legislate other people's morality, but they're also really good at talking about we need to shrink government. Well, in this particular case, I agree with them. They need to stay the hell out of people's personal decisions and just leave people alone.
I really do, and that's why this issue is so difficult. But I believe a human being, an unborn child, has a right to live, irrespective of the circumstances by which they were conceived. And I know that that's not majority of Americans don't agree with me on that, and that is probably, and that's why any law that limits abortions that passes will almost certainly have exceptions, and I'll sign it with exceptions. But I personally believe that all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws.
Immigrate.
All right. I mean that's his own personal opinion, and yeah, on that one, I'm not going to really jump up and down on it. But the immigration is another story. He's full of shit, and he can try to sugarcoat it all he wants, but he's full of crap.
So let's talk about issue online last night. You're getting hit for being for the Gang of Eight bill, part of the Gang of Eight on immigration, also for running away from it. So bottom line, was it a mistake to forge the original deal?
No, look, I went to Washington to try to solve problems. Immigration's a huge problem in Florida. And I saw an opportunity to do the best we could in a Senate controlled by liberals like Harry Reid in the hopes that the House would take it up and make it even better. Happened in the Senate, did not happen in the House. Here's the bottom line. That's not the way we're going to do it when I'm president. We have a majority of Republicans in the House and Senate, and I'm president. We're going to do it differently. We're going to do it the way I want to do it.
But if that's the best you could do, you would sign it?
Well, I don't think that's the right. I don't think that law, the way it was constructed, could have ever passed, because most certainly I think when you look at the House and the broader population in America, people don't want to move on immigration until you can prove to them that illegal immigration is under control. And that's the point I've been making now for 3 years. We are not going to be able to do this comprehensively. As president, we will not. As president, the first thing we're going to do is secure our border. And until the border is secure, nothing else is going to happen on immigration. And anyone who believes otherwise is either delusional or is not being
But
honest.
no regrets about being for the Gang of Eight, being part of the Gang of Eight.
I went up there to try to solve problems. It would have been easier to sit back and just give speeches and criticize what other people did. I went up there to try to solve problems. Immigration is a big problem. And it's harder today and worse today than it was 3 years ago.
Yeah. And you crafted a bill that passed through the Senate, and you ran away from the damn bill. I mean, if you had just voted for the bill, let it go to the House and die in the House, really, nobody really could have said much of anything, and the whole thing probably would have died. But you crafting a bill with your name on it and then running away from the bill that you had your name on, that basically shows no character and no backbone. So, Marco Rubio, he's not ready for prime time. They're kicking his ass left and right across the board. I don't know if it is the establishment that is really trying to push him, but after that debate performance last night, I think Kasich is probably going to pass him. And with Kasich staying in the race, he may have some serious issues.